Hello and welcome into the SorareData NBA Strategy Show. I'm Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on SoRare. Joined, I was going to say as always, but it is almost as always. But also, feels like it's been like a long time since we have spoken. But and now I have like an echo here. Hold on, sorry guys. Great start to the show. Anyway,
we're back.
Alex Cooper, TiltCityFC, Keith Jamison, Gator Guy 231 has returned.
Hold on, that's how far long it's been, right?
Yeah.
We got through the gold. I killed Ryan Gold just in time for you to win him.
And thanks again.
Here we are.
Thanks again for that. Yeah, I'm thinking of that like it's been 84 years meme that. But anyway, we're back. Today did not talk about strategy at all. Really talk about just what we want for next season. It's all about us, and we want more, and we want it now, but we're going to be reasonable about it. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
We want it next season, but we want to know.
Right. So before we get into next season, because it's obviously the playoffs, do you guys find that actually, let me start a different way. How are you doing in the playoff long competition?
I got 200 points in Rare All-Star in week 1. I finished just outside of rewards card-wise, but I did get those sweet 200 points. So we're off and running.
Okay.
Where do you even check that?
I forgot my lineup didn't save, so I don't know. My first lineup. Yeah.
Like, what did you have to do? You had to score 200?
I don't remember.
This is real. I'm looking at my rare champion lineup that scored 195.88, and I'd be like, "Oh, that checks out." That I would like just come short of whatever you needed if you needed something.
If you go home on NBA, you'll see your little purple
icon. Yeah.
Icon, yeah.
Oh, the one that has a 0 next to it.
Yeah, that one.
This one right here.
Yeah, that and the individual competitions right there. I do have 200 in Rare Champion, so yeah, it's based on finish in each weekly competition, and that gives you a certain amount of points. And by the end of everything,
and the winner plays 1-on-1 with Giannis.
Yes,
that does not sound like a reward.
It's the reward.
That's honest. It's like the 5-a-side with Zidane. It's all fun.
Have you seen his elbows? Oh.
But they're so high up that it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, clearly.
Well, at least for me, you might have a problem. I don't have that.
That's
problem.
True.
God, he's what, 7 foot now, 7'1". I don't even think at 6'4" I have a problem.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe I won't win, so we will not know.
Right. Nothing. I chose not to win because I was too concerned about the one-on-one.
I was too
the
concerned
record
about
for those listening or watching. There is no one-on-one competition with Giannis as a prize, unless that's one of the surprises that they're going to drop on us at the end. I did find the playoff stuff cool, like the prizes and everything, but it wasn't nearly enough to get me to do anything other than, hey, here are my cards. I'm just going to play my cards. Either of you buy cards for the playoffs? Like going into the playoffs as opposed to earlier?
I believe I bought a Javon Carter limited. That was it.
You should have come to me. I have about 4 of them in every scarcity, it feels like.
That's right. I should have. Yeah, and pretty sure I haven't played it. Pretty sure I won't. Maybe later. Maybe in the later stages.
Is it bad? I'm like switching and I might buy a limited because Kawhi looks like the greatest player on the planet right now.
Playoff
and
Kawhi.
I have a Kawhi, and I guess as long as Giannis, do we know is Giannis okay?
I think he's still just questionable.
So maybe for the next one, Kawhi is still the greatest player in playoff history, and Giannis, maybe I will, because that's fun to have, and then I have Paul George if he ever comes back. So yeah, probably. I mean, but then Kawhi probably is not the greatest player in the planet.
No, that's true. That's true.
Can we talk about Russ Westbrook being awesome too? I know this is NBA, but did anybody predict that? I did not.
Playoff Russ?
Is that a thing? I don't think that's a thing. I think that's like saying that there's playoff Harden and trying to say that's a good thing.
Better than Atlanta Harden.
Alex, you're probably better, nuttier basketball. Is this Russ completely shocking to you?
You're about to say I'm a better basketball fan, and I have not watched anything other than the Cavs. Honestly, I didn't even know he was doing well.
He's crushing.
I knew Kawhi was.
Russ and Kawhi are giving Phoenix everything that they can handle. So
yes,
Germ, take your victory lap. He did. Germ had it. Germ had Russ.
Yeah, I mean, 47, 46, 43 is pretty good, I'd say, for Russ, who,
for a guy that got cut, a guy that essentially got cut in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
Pretty decent.
By another playoff team that barely made it.
That still got better by letting him go, though, too.
That's fair. That's fair. So, for the few people who are tuning in to this live instead of watching Bayern Man City, thanks for that. If you guys could please hit the like button. Anyone who's catching up, like button is there for you as well. So I'm going to talk about next season because I feel like I'm done with this season. Like that's how I'm looking at it, is that I don't feel like there's a reason to buy cards now for these playoff series. Like the risk of buying a card for 3 games, and then waiting until next season just doesn't feel worth it. So like, it's as simple as that.
I mean, we saw that in baseball. I mean, Alex, unfortunately, you can attest that it was not worth it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't win rewards, but I had fun.
That's good.
Yeah, up until I didn't win rewards. I will say that like the 15% advantage thing did discourage me. I'm not going to buy any cards now.
Right.
Like I won't.
Right. Because you're behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, I'll just give up. Like if later, and if I have 4 guys and it's the conference finals, like I might buy one. But
it was like that's like a funny byproduct that they were like,
yes,
go buy cards before the playoffs. And then like, as soon as the playoffs starts, you're like, there's no way I'm buying cards right now.
Yeah.
And now it's over. Yeah.
Right.
That's calculated gamble, I guess.
I don't even know if we actually said that when we were previewing it. I didn't even think about that until you just said that. You're exactly right. It's kind of
yeah. That's what I was getting at. Is like the Carter thing. Like I was like, yeah, he might factor in, and he's cheap, and Connaughton was hurt, and then Grayson Allen also got hurt, and I was like, yeah, sure, this is a guy who might work out for me. I don't think it mattered. But yeah, I was like, I'm definitely not doing it now. Like, why would I do that? And
right.
Maybe later. Maybe.
So the one issue that I'm having with it's not an issue, but the one thing that I've noticed from MLB that I'm slightly concerned about. Concerned is probably not the right word, but I'll use it. About NBA next season is I had no incentive to buy new baseball cards this year. And just the way that baseball works, I've been able to use basically all of my cards from last season and I'm winning rewards. And I don't know how I avoid that with NBA, given that I'm going to go into next season with, I'm trying to check what my own card, with 93 limited cards and 40 rares. Like, what's going to make me buy more cards next year?
More competitions, I think we can say pretty certainly, seeing as they did it in MLB.
I didn't buy any new cards for MLB either.
That's,
but
I mean, it would be a reason, but
yeah.
Can I ask you? Let me counter this to you, Laird. What would SoRare prefer? You to buy more cards, or them to have more people to buy more cards?
Well, theoretically, if they convince me to buy more cards, then it feels like that's an incentive for, like, new people should be wanting to buy cards. Like, there should be a reason for all of us to want to buy more cards. It's not like only new people.
I mean,
what do they? I guess my question is, like, what are they doing that incentivizes me to buy new cards? That de-incentivize?
De-incentivize?
That's not really the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
But doesn't make new people want to buy them.
But I think the overall attraction is trying to get the new people in.
Oh yeah,
Don't have any cards to buy. I guess I look at it more as, obviously I don't have that many NBA. I could go back and look, but on the football side, where I'm not like very, very competitive, like I don't really ever feel incentivized or the reason that I want to buy new cards. It's kind of more of like getting out of current cards that aren't as useful and into cards that maybe are more useful. So I don't necessarily think it's like SoRare sitting there, okay, Lairdinho has 93 limited cards. How can we get him to 193? It's more of, can we make him feel the game's attractive enough to go turn 80 of those junk limited cards into more elite ones, and then they make hay that way. No?
I mean, if anybody would like to offer their elite cards for my junk cards, I'm all ears.
I mean, you just did this on the football side. Shout out Lairdinho, the messy rare owner.
Kind of. I just sold them all. Like I wasn't really like, that was different because I'm going to still play limited NBA.
Right, but you could still technically take 80 limited NBA and maybe get Joel Embiid rare.
I don't think I can. Not with mine. I've seen mine, man. There's a lot of Javon Carters you need to get up to an Embiid rare.
I guess to me, I know where we're trying to go with the question, but I guess to me it's more of, I don't think it's as much getting people that already are on the platform as it is like to buy new cards and to like, I don't think that they're looking and Nicholas is going like, I need 400 cards per user.
Yeah, I guess that's not really the way that I was thinking of it. Maybe it should have been. I guess I'm just like struggling. So like the baseball thing, and admittedly, my interest in NBA is more than it is in MLB in terms of wanting to play this game. I just don't. I think the game itself is better. I think the cap mode kind of plays a part into it, where you have to be a little more active. And maybe that's sort of the problem, not the problem, but it's kind of a negative for me with baseball, that it's not encouraging me to want to dive in more, because I'm like, oh, I have these cards, they fit. I've won with this group before. I'll just try to win again. And the NBA, like, because of the way the cap works, I'll keep going. But I'm struggling to see the value in going from, like you said, 90 cards to 120. And I guess more competition solves that. I mean, it's something that we've harped on, but at some point, I'm just not going to want to buy more cards if I have all of these cards. Like at no point will I have enough, or excuse me. Yeah. Well, where I'm like, I have enough cards for everything I want to enter. It's like, oh, I have all of these cards and I have enough to enter, and I have 130 still untouched. And like, there's just never going to be enough competitions. And I think that's kind of a problem, because I also can't sell 14 Javon Carters. I don't really have 14, but I might have 5.
I think the game does necessitate. I mean, I think one of the biggest advantages in the game is having a wide gallery.
Yeah.
But do you want to widen it? And I do agree that the concern is getting people on the platform, but like getting X amount more limited people on the platform versus, having a good game that the uniques go for a normal price, and you release your Luka Doncic at a time when it's going to fetch you the most profit. I think those are a little bit more concerning, but like, I do think that the NBA product would have a harder user acquisition, a harder time with user acquisition because of how much that goes into it. And we've talked about it before. And I saw a lot of people quit during the year after trying it because it was so labor intensive. And I think that's something worth solving, but also like, I don't want to change the core of this game. I'm tired. Like I got worn down by it. Doing a whole season of that was a lot, and playing it competitively was a lot. But I I do love the game, and also I don't have a way that you can change it and make it fun other than like just keeping a no cap open.
Well, I mean, can I ask a question? We've done the no cap thing. How about, I know this isn't that much of a change, but it sort of is, no cap with positions.
Fine.
I was thinking
that would make me want to buy more cards.
Right. Well, I was thinking about this last night and actually decided one of the top things I want for next season is positions, which are actually built in. It was really weird because I listed you guys all this other stuff, and then I was like thinking about it more, and I really do want that.
I do too. It'll make the game harder. It'll make my job harder, but playing 5-point guards or playing 5 centers it doesn't take anything away from the game. It's just weird. I do like the added aspect of like, all right, am I going to spend my cap points on the one small forward who projects well? Or, I have 6 elite centers to pick from and I have this one's accessible price wise and all that. It adds a layer to the game that I think would be enjoyable. But again, I think it does make it harder.
Well, that's why I said you could like do cap and no cap. I just was like, I don't remember what I was doing. Maybe I was like actually playing on lineup builder with baseball, and then I was like playing around with it in football. And then you go to basketball and it's just a free for all, so to speak, without the cap. And it's like there's actually no other game, whether it's DFS, hell, season long fantasy. There's no other like basketball component of any game that it doesn't matter if it's center, forward, or guard.
Right.
Yeah, but I think that was a bit of the draw to, like, it was something new. Like, I don't think fantasy, like the fantasy basketball game was solved where everyone's like, oh, this is how you play fantasy basketball. So like, I got the idea of like the fact that the NBA is kind of going to positionless basketball, which everybody loves to say, but there's always like one really big guy, one small guy, and then 3 in between. But would you want like positioned in everything or just like a position contest?
I mean, I think that's kind of where you could actually, like when Alex was talking about being tired, I think that's kind of where you could play around with things too, right? Sorry, I'm going to let the weedy.
I think having both is great. I think having like, I would prefer that the best rewards are in the harder contests or the contests that require more thought and effort, but that's just because I put thought and effort into it.
Sure.
But maybe it's not even like the best cards. Maybe you still have good cards and the other ones you just don't have as big of depth. Like no cap doesn't have nearly the amount of depth because you just get to click, right? Yeah. So to speak. Right. But I don't know. I was just thinking about that. Like literally it was during baseball and I was like, oh, why can't, because I won I'm so bad at baseball. JT Realmuto, and I think catcher is middle infield, and like I had forgotten about that a year and a half ago, and it, like I couldn't process it for a while. I'm like, wait, I only could play a catcher in extra? Oh, that sucks. And then I went back and clicked. I'm like, he's in middle. I thought that was a second base and a shortstop, and I'm like,
it is. But also,
sorry.
Also, DHs are corner infielders.
That's my favorite one.
This is a basketball show. This is a basketball. I can't do this.
Oh no! Yes, you can.
But this is where this came up, and even though it was out of frustration, I was just kind of like, oh well, at least makes me like think a tad bit. It still only took me after 5 minutes of just being perplexed. It only took me another minute to make a lineup, right? So it wasn't. But it did constrain, and it does make lineups a lot different. I do think what we have with the outset of all these optimizers, which is what actually kind of by the end of the season did piss me off with SorareNBA, was all the damn Twitter shouts of my opto is awesome. Like, I kind of...
I didn't even do that.
I literally said, I'm like, God, I did not check that, make sure that Alex didn't do this. But Optimizers slowly made me love NBA DFS a lot less. It's why I think soccer DFS is still a little bit pure, is that people that just plug in optos don't do that well. So this game going to the fact of it's just an opto really frustrates me. And yes, I get that positions would still bring in the opto, but I still think that changes things up a lot more. So I think that's where I was going with it.
I've never thought about that, and I love it. I think that's a great point. And I really like what Alex said before, that the best rewards should be given away to like the hardest competitions. Like you have to earn the best rewards, and plugging into an optimizer probably doesn't feel like you're working that hard to. Obviously, there's plenty of work that goes into making that optimizer, but
100%.
There's really also not much strategy to it.
There isn't, and you just literally, we've talked about IKB and stuff, but like there are people, and like NBA is one where the opto is going to produce above average expected results over time. Like that is.
There's a little bit. I will say there's a little bit of strategy in it, because sometimes the optimizers are like, yeah, this dude with a 6L10 and he's gonna go. So you have to decide on like what the optimal lineup construction is, which is something we talked about ad nauseum at the beginning. Like you still have that same problem on both sides, but your point is valid.
That also takes a second that you just hit exclude,
right,
and then rerun.
Yep.
I don't know. I will say, like, I waned in my love of SorareNBA at the very end, and I really thought it was the optos that was just really starting to annoy me.
I feel like the stuff that we liked early on became the stuff we didn't like. That like the game is, the game is fairly easy. Just like get guys under the cap, make sure that they outperform the cap, and you're like, okay. And by the end, you're just like, oh, I just got to like pick 5 guys under the cap, and I just keep going. And like, I felt like I heard some of that feedback like in the middle of the season, and people were like, wait, but this game you really liked at the beginning, it's the same game. So just why wouldn't you like it now? And it just took me the entire season to feel that way. But I think part of it is just that there's one of my favorite things about the football side is the strategy of where to play. And that just like doesn't exist. I mean, it sort of does with the whole, like, do you play your low L10 guy in champion or contender? But that's it. They're like, that's all. That goes more, I guess, back to the more contest. I don't even want more.
Well, you also consistent. Laird, me and you on the football side actually have like very much agreed in like a strategy that, with Threshold, we both now are like, that's one of the first lineups we're making there, and our best cards or like our best L10s are going there. But to your point, and that brings up a lot, because you're like, oh my God, this guy is so good. Am I really taking him away from for me, a Tadic lineup, now for Laird, a Messi? How rich. But like, it is strategy, whereas in NBA that doesn't exist. It's like, okay, my best players are going to champion. I mean, more often than not. Or if okay. How about this, Alex? I realized that I said it.
Okay,
it's going in 1 of 2 places. It's not going in any of the specials.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and like my best player, like my best NBA player, most likely to get into the Hall of Fame, is going to be in my champion lineup, probably. But then, like, I was prioritizing contender, so I'm speaking in semantics. But again, your point is valid. I know what you're saying. I did have to make that call a lot, and I did have to bounce back and forth. But I don't know. I'm not here to like defend the game at any cost. The point is valid, but there's a decent amount of strategy. I do love the idea of adding more, because, I mean, frankly, again, I have always been horrible at NBA DFS. I played it the first 2 days of the playoffs, and it was finished last in the private league that I did both times. Like, I don't know what I do wrong, or if it's expanded rosters or having the positions, but there is added strategy that would make me think a little bit more into how I use who and what. Like, I would have to tinker with, okay, Gordon Hayward's a great play this week, and I have no other good small forward. cards. I think that's fun. But like, I'm trying to think of things with like actual aspects of the game that I would change, and there's not a ton. Like I wouldn't change the best ball, even though like there is a drawback to it where like your bench guy puts up a 70 in game 1 and all of a sudden in game 2 you're like, he's not going to pass that, so I hope he stubs his toe in the first quarter. Like it's it's one of those things where yeah, there's a little bit of a trade-off, but like I think it would hurt the game if you changed it. I wouldn't want to add or reduce the amount of players in a lineup. I'm just thinking of like, very basic thing, and there's just not a ton I would change. Sure.
Can I credit Sean Newsham for this 6 months ago? But what about instead of cap, it was tiers?
What does that mean?
So tier 1 is 50 to 60, or I'm sorry, anything 60 and below.
Like basically specialist, like football specialist. Oh,
nope, not quite. 60 and below, so meaning you can play anybody. Hell, maybe you just don't put a cap on tier 1. Play anybody.
MVP.
Tier 2, 50 and below. So if Luka's on a 51, he can't be in tier 2. Tier 3, 40 and below. Tier 4, 30 and below. Tier 5, 20 and below. You could scale it down to if you wanted to.
This is like in a lineup?
5 positions. And instead of saying cap, it's just tiered and it's just belows.
Yeah. Respectfully to Sean, I hate the idea because I don't like being forced to play a guy who has an L10 of 20. If I want to play 4 guys with L10s of 33 or whatever it is, 5 guys.
So what about that being an alternative mode? Or are we just getting too complicated?
I think that's a mode that most people would skip. Like, I think it's too complicated.
And this is coming from the former self-professed best DraftKings tier UCL player on the planet.
That is true. That is true.
Oh man, they did tiers?
Hell yeah, they did.
I never knew they did
tiers. Ever had.
But then Laird dominated too much. Like, wait, this is broken.
Yeah, I finished second once, and they decided they were like, "Whoa, we can't have this again."
Yeah, I think that would just kill off a lot of the really low L10 guys and kind of be like
that.
Similar.
That's the trade-off, but at the same time, it also gives you a little less of the whole panic of, oh my God, I had Javon Carter at 14, but I needed 13.
Don't we have that already, though? The number of times every single game week, I send a screenshot to TST with a 200 and whatever one over the cap, like every week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
it happens in football.
Yeah.
I don't, by the way, I don't know why the computers are like this. DraftKings is always 100, too little. Football, it's always 1 over, and basketball, it's always 1 over. Like, yeah. It's sorcery.
I love all the people who are like, they know. It's like, they don't know. They knew we would come up.
I actually do think DraftKings knows.
They don't know.
I'm dying on that grave.
That's fine. I don't know. I think they're cool. I like the position thing. I like that a lot because they're on the cards. We have the info, and it is
that's
like
the weirdest part.
To just like, here's more.
And Alex, when you do your data too, that you pull, like it's on there too, right?
What do you mean?
Like when you pull down the data for the player, like it's stored there too, right?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Hold on, I forgot. Your data fetch isn't from SoRare, or is it? From the API?
Not all of it.
Okay. I guess I'm wondering, but if it's on the card, I have to imagine that they have it programmed in somewhere that they could use.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I don't have it. I don't have their positions currently. I would have to fix that. Okay, so really quick, what Surface said in the chat, siloing entrance into a mini league once the game week starts. I really like that idea. I don't know if y'all have ever played FPL.
Like the cup competition?
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoy that. And that's not even necessarily what he means, because there's multiple leagues. Like, I really don't hate that. I think it's an interesting way to like break up the amount of opto lineup. Like, it's not just opto at the top. Not that they always finish at the top, but like, I don't know. It's way more outside of the box than anything I can come up with, and it doesn't change.
The NBA is going to do it,
right? Well, they should. It doesn't change any core functions of the game. It changes the structure around it, and I think it makes it easier for people to be like, "Oh yeah, I won something," because they're broken off into different spots. But I think it's really interesting, and it's the kind of solution that I think is the end solution. Because, like I've said a million times, I don't really want to change the core of the game.
Yeah,
because it's all right. Other than the positions, I think that could be it. You could tell me tomorrow that it was in every competition. I'd be like, all right, that's smart.
I think, and Drum brought up like U23 seems obvious, like competitions that they can add.
Sure.
I think one of the reasons why I want them to add competitions is essentially like a redistribution of, as I'm thinking of, the best rewards. That I don't like that they have effectively decided that you have to progress if you finish really well. And I'm like thinking of this in terms of like the champion aspect, that like if you primarily play limited or primarily play rare and you play in champion and you hit the nuts one week and they're like, congratulations, here's a card you can't
sell.
And not being able to win the best cards with the best cards, I think is really bad. Like, I think it's actually bad. And so I just want a competition where if I have the best, like I want to be able to play my Giannis or Jokic, who I don't have, but I want to use those guys to win those guys, if that makes sense. And you can't do that now unless you play them with 4 guys who have an L10 of 0 and you win contender, because otherwise, like, it seems so weird to me that you can't do that right now.
The third competition you kind of can, right? But
I never know what it is.
All offense or all defense or.
Before you say it, I will not take any all defense slander. I think that is a great game mode. I do think it needs tweaked. But
like every week?
Yeah, please. I don't love the rebounds. I think that skews it too heavily. But then you just have guys who dominate in blocks. But it's going to be a thin margin. And you can't get around it.
Jackson owner, you're perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
I think it's weird that they have rebounds in offense and defense.
That's the bigger problem. If you add offensive rebounds to offense, fine. But otherwise, just remove rebounds from all offense. My favorite thing about all...
Cabela.
Yeah, right. My favorite thing about all offense is it's basically just no turnovers.
Right.
Like, so many of the people you're playing over the course of the week might add like 3 to 6 points via steal and defense, and that's all you're losing, and turnovers. So it's just like, go out there and just shoot, baby. Like, shoot, turn it over. I don't care.
Just let it rip.
Usage percentage all stars.
So I shudder to ask this because Laird even got mad at his boss about this one. But what about a floor competition in NBA? No, Laird? No. Your boss hasn't convinced you otherwise yet? I
just don't see the need for it. I think no cap is better than that.
Okay, that's fair.
For those of you who haven't listened, the floor competition, or is that what he called it? Floor? But basically,
I think it was a floor. Yeah.
Basically, instead of a cap that you have to stay under, it's a floor that you have to go over. So, like, your lineup has to have an L10 of like 280. I mean, not 280. Sorry, but like whatever we didn't have a number for it, but effectively like
essentially that. Essentially just to make sure that if you do have a lot of good cards that you don't get like where we've all been. Well, I actually think it works better in NBA than football, because there's nothing that's pained me more than like when something didn't fit. Like I don't hold it now, but like at one point I held Doncic, Jokic, Embiid, Durant, and somebody else, and it was like one of them was always going to training or two were going to training.
Yeah.
And there was actually nothing worse than that. Like that was like truly like painful, was those guys going into training.
Yeah, I just didn't see the value of that over no cap.
No, well, because in the NBA it does become no cap. I guess I didn't even think of that. I just heard that today. I was like, oh, that's interesting for NBA. But yeah, that is his no cap.
It would weed out the dead lineups, which.
So then where that was going though is how much of a need is beat the game threshold. That was the inevitable where this is going, and I didn't even softball ETH. I started beat the game.
Alex, you want to say something before I say something about it?
It kind of already exists because it's the only way you win. Like, if you look at your scores, I don't know, you're still trying to, like, it's just excess over the cap, and all you're doing is saying like if you match the cap or whatever, then you get a threshold. Like,
they wouldn't do that, but they would give you
it's really all it is.
200
like
points. No, but let's just say
excess.
for normal it's 2x.
Right, like your 110 lineup scores 220.
Beat the game doesn't have to be the cap. Beat the game has to be whatever they say the game is.
Right, yeah, it's whatever they want it to be.
Right, it's the same mechanic of the game already, though.
But how necessary is it?
But the mechanic of the game now is beat everyone else.
Yeah.
Instead of beat this one score, and like that one score to beat everyone else is different every week.
And what that brings in the current mechanic is you get the whole thing again. I won't go off on a tangent on it, but the whole I scored 260 points and it's only a tier 5. Whereas because everybody crushed, right? Versus the threshold was 220 and I crushed it. And it didn't matter that everybody crushed it that week or not. I achieved my goal.
It made me feel better about all the times that I've scored 250 and not won a tier 5.
I'm like, I feel weird talking about it. Not weird, but like I love it. I love the threshold idea. I love being able to like hit a score and I'm winning money. And I know that, I mean, they obviously introduced ETH in baseball, and I think everyone is expecting ETH in NBA, whether it's coming or not. Like they are expecting it, because I feel like they weren't. Like SoRare made it clear that they were trying to get it for baseball, and then it came for baseball, and I feel like we haven't really gotten the same definitive answer for NBA.
Right.
And maybe they're just waiting for next season. But I do think that they're even if it's not ETH, even though I think it should be. Like if they're with the SoRare coins for football, which if you just do that for NBA and then I can use that for league pass or jerseys or whatever. I do think that there should be something for people who don't win card rewards, because it doesn't feel like they're giving out enough rewards for how many cards they could possibly mint. And part of that is because then that floods the market and people's values go down, and we all complain about that too. But it feels like they should allow us to earn something. The threshold idea works in football, and I feel like it should work here in NBA.
We know a threshold works very well in football. Like for a lot of people, it still is like the number one reason they're playing it.
Please don't get me wrong. I am not against it.
I love having a take. I love having a take that's not the obvious. So go.
Yeah. I don't have those normally. I'm pretty pretty laid back with it. First of all, to something you said, Andrew, SoCoins it was the one thing I knew I was going to say today. I want that. And as far as the beat the game element goes, I like knowing that even if I'm not going to win a card, I'll win something. I like hitting something and being like, all right,
100%.
cool, whatever. Like if it all goes to hell, which it does every Sunday in MLB, like at least I got that $5 to. I'll see that little change in my wallet, and I'll be like, great.
It wasn't a wasted weekend. I didn't waste my whole weekend watching the Rays and Guardians.
Right. Exactly.
Go Rays.
Yeah, I think the other thing that the coins bring on is wanting to enter more things. Whether even if they're just junk lineups, it's like, oh, if I could enter this contest, I just need to get one more card, and if I hit whatever the threshold is to get some SoRare coins, like I'll do it. And we barely know what you can get with them on the football side, but the ideas that you can get for NBA, like the list of things that they could give away with SoRare coins is not short. And so let us, like, I feel like we've seen it enough in football where like, yes, this works. Let's just have it in NBA.
Yeah. And I got some pretty awesome Cavs gear from winning, so I know like they can give it. And that made my experience on NBA like as good as any card that I won.
Yeah.
Especially because I didn't know it was coming.
It's awesome.
But it's just, having it there and just like keeping me around. Like, you're not going to lose me in NBA right now. Like, I have no intention to walk away from the game, but like I think all three of us made a decision a long time ago that we weren't going to buy many cards, if any. And next year, like, I'm not going to buy any cards over the off season because a unique kind of position, maybe not unique, but because I can see its application in football and baseball now, but like, I don't know where any of these dudes are going to play. Like, I don't know if Karis LeVert's going to have a role with the Cavs next year. I don't know if he's going to be with the Cavs, and if he goes somewhere else, like how long until his L10 actually catches up? So like, why would I had someone in my Discord and he was like, what do you think about this guy next year? Like, I don't know. He's like, what do you think about this guy?
Where
Like,
is he going to be?
He's like, what do you think about Bojan Bogdanovic? I was like, I don't know. Does he play in Detroit? They sat him so they could trade him, but will they trade him? And like, he probably won't be there. And if he goes to a contender, like he's on a 30, he's going to be scoring 18 for at least 10 games. And then all of a sudden, like, is he going to score more than 18? I don't know. So I'm not buying anything now, except like, I'd love to have a Wembanyama or whatever, but
damn right.
We're not going to know. We're not going to see those cards until day one of the NBA anyway.
So I was going to say,
they should just auction them off.
How many coins would you spend for a Rudy Gobert one-on-one? Sorry, I said Paris NBA 2024. I'm like, oh my God, Rudy Gobert is the SorareNBA ambassador.
I'm going to get back to Gobert, actually. I'm going to change topics with Gobert. But Surface was saying, I don't think we've seen evidence that coins work in football. You still can't really buy anything people want. So I know plenty of people who have spent lots of coins. And so I don't think that there's no evidence. I think there's plenty of evidence of people who are waiting. But like, plenty of people have done those boosts to level up. They bought more training lineups. And this is before we even know what's coming out. So, and people are entering more lineups. Maybe they're not buying cards.
That's what I was going to say.
But people entering more lineups because of coins.
We know that for sure, that like people are entering more, that people do feel like the coins. Remember, like, for the longest time, they took away commons and people are actually like disappointed they at least didn't get their common reveal. Like, this kind of replaces that a little bit, that they get something for the game week.
Right.
So I think that's the biggest thing.
I think there is completely agree with you that there is a big just mental part of it when it's like, you did not win any cards, but here are some coins. And you're just like, okay, great. You see the little image, like, yeah, it's better than everyone's like, hey, what did you win? And you're like, nothing. 1-0.
Mike, better question: how many coins to watch Rudy and Draymond kick each other in the corner?
Alex, were you gonna say something?
Find me more unlikable, guys. All right, continue.
I was just going to say that I can say from the bottom of the barrel, actually talking to people and being someone at the bottom of the SoRare football pyramid, that the coins add a lot, and the boosts that you can actually buy have intrigued me. I have not bought one. I know my brother did, and he used it, and he was quite happy about it. So at least we know it's trending, going the right way. I don't know how many coins you get at the top. I don't know what unique all-star coinage looks like, but I'm sure you could probably have bought up everything that you might possibly need.
I'm gonna look right here. Let's see. Our good friend AJ last weekend. Actually, that's not nearly. He won 9,400
coins.
What
did Sean win?
And let's see. Bellama won 13,750.
Okay, so that's probably the range.
That seems like a lot to me.
That's double what I have. Ooh, I have coins waiting for me.
Bang!
I know Nanzo goes everywhere, so let me see what
that's
Nanzo had. 22,470.
That's all.
I won 790.
There you go.
And the Surface 13. But I do think what Surface said was about like the full menu of what you can see for them. The overall impression is meh, or the overall impression is holy crap.
Yeah,
I can meet Lord Bannikin. Okay, right? I mean they could just literally blow it out of the water, and we are all just unbelievably shocked by what they have access to, and everybody goes, holy crap! This is insane. And then kind of what the engineers said on Nellis' show, where they want people to want coins more than cards. So it's TBD, but there's excitement there, and hopefully they take the excitement and they deliver.
So, unless you guys are wanting to move on, what in-game uses and what out-of-game uses, other than the ones that we've talked about, would you want from SoCoins and NBA, or what do you think would get people excited? What would get you excited?
I mean, going to basketball games a number of times in my life, but never being all that close and being able to actually get a courtside, or as the dad of two now, having my kid meet, I live close to Orlando, but having my kids meet Paulo, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
that would be freaking amazing.
I feel like one of the examples, did it come from Nellis? Might have come from Nellis. That was basically saying, picturing himself traveling or going somewhere and being like, man, I would really love to go to whatever game, wherever he was. And it's can I use my SoRare coins to get tickets to the game tonight? Yes. And we have no idea if that's reasonable or doable. I don't know what the SoRare ticket situation is when you have a license like this, but I think that's what I think that would be a big draw for some people. And obviously you can't just do it for 100 coins or whatever if you can just accumulate them easily, but yeah, real stuff like that.
That's ultimately the goal of Web3 though, right? It's kind of what we're all building for. And I know we don't necessarily sit here and think Web3 with this. We enjoy the fantasy aspect of the game, but the ownership and the utility of it, and it feels like we're slowly progressing that way. If I don't know that they can just be you can go buy these tickets until the NBA decides, and then how many do they allot? And I know there's a ton going on there, but it definitely feels like we're headed that way.
Well, I don't know if it's really a Web3 thing though, because DraftKings does it now. The number of people who are tweeting
that's fair.
Oh, DraftKings, you play a few $100,000 worth of volume, and all of a sudden everyone's oh, I'm throwing out the first pitch at the Cardinals game tonight.
That's
or
fair.
Hey, I just got this. Who was it? Was it Greg? Who was
Greg got all Apple
looked
stuff.
He looked like he robbed an Apple store, and he was thanks DraftKings. And I was
funny.
that. I mean, I'm not saying
one of my co-owners at FSI, he very high volume, and he got like a $7,000 watch from them, like engraved his name. He's like, I don't even know what the hell to do with this. Like, I'm too scared to wear this.
Yeah.
He's I have like a Nokia. He has a $30 Nokia on. He's like, what do I do with this?
Yeah, I think the possibilities are literally endless. And
can I give you a really random one I kind of want to share? Because sorry for going.
We're on a strict topic.
I promise
here.
I'll bring it.
Come on.
I promise I'll bring it back. So one of my buddy's weddings, he's a huge baseball guy. He worked for as a bat boy growing up for the Rays. And like, long story short, but for part of his wedding thing, the night before rehearsal dinner, my other buddy found a website that you can hire athletes to do like a 60-second like video, and you just tell them what to say.
Yeah, Cameo. Someone did that for our wedding. For a
cool
comedian.
I never knew this until this happened, and my mind was blown the whole time. And it was Johnny Damon, and he's like, Steve, I remember all your.
Would be on.
Yep, and he's like,
needs money.
My buddy's name is Steve, and he's like, Steve, I remember you in the dugout. You always made a huge impression on me. I've always wondered what happened to like if you were ever going to find the perfect girl. And he's like, and his wife is a Red Sox fan, and like Steve's just buzzing.
Johnny Damon.
And then I think he ended and he goes, oh, by the way, your buddy Ben paid me $150 to say this or something.
Hard.
But so I circle that back. Like, that could be something for coins. Maybe you don't have enough to go, but like, yeah, Paulo calls you up and it's like, hey man, you know, like does a little text message to my kids. My first bucket is for you. I don't know. Like, yeah. That stuff would be cool, right? Is that stuff not cool?
Like we said, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
I will say, I've met a lot of athletes in my day. Probably not as cool as you think.
No, the Johnny Damon one was amazing, though.
No, yeah. No, stuff like that's great. I'm jaded.
Okay, that's what it's called. Cameo. There
Yeah. Yep.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, someone got my wife's cousin got us one from Hannibal Buress, the comedian, and it still makes me laugh. It's quite hilarious. But what in-game would you want? Is there anything like the first thing I thought of was like cat
More
boost.
training.
Cat boost is
can't do that.
a hilarious idea.
Yeah, right.
It's a hilarious idea to me though.
That's like the XP boost that we were kind of worried. It was okay that the way they did it. That was like the XP stuff on the football side. That seems is okay. It's I don't think it's wrecking the game like we were worried about. I don't think you can do that in game. I sort of thought this a little bit. We don't have enough time. I'm going to throw us off. But I was thinking, like with the coins and stuff, what if it allowed you to like burn a car? Or how about a reward swap for a tier up?
It would have to be like below tier 2.
What if you needed 1 million SO coins to trade your tier 2 to tier 1?
Maybe if they made it astronomical, it would make sense.
Yeah, I think like everybody would do it. I think they'd run out of tier 1s. Like they'd run out.
Grasping at straws here. They were not running out. Laird, I have seen the inventory. They are not running out of shit on the NBA side or MLB.
I like this germ idea. The cap boost, but only 1 point. That's all I need.
I think that's fine.
It's Laird will take over SorareNBA with the +1.
I don't think that's a bad idea. If it were 5 or 10, it would be ridiculous. I'm pretty sure you can mint cards for Ethereum, right? Isn't that just
okay?
burn?
Here's a bet.
I'm pretty sure someone
bad
did
one
that.
Maybe. Here's a bad one that probably has legal implication. How about a free sale on the secondary market? No broker fee.
Yeah,
and you use it for your Luca unique.
Yeah.
Up to a certain amount.
Yeah. That doesn't work. I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of in-game. I think it's all out of game. And I think what we see on football. Yeah, Alex, I do think the one thing that we've seen on the football side is the thing that the most people are excited about for the coin shop is the outside of game stuff. It's not the in-game. They have most of what they can do in-game. And we're all just stockpiling and going, when are the experiences?
Right.
When are the jerseys?
Right.
So, but I think one of the reasons why that stuff is so important is, like, I remember basically at the beginning of the season, or maybe at the beginning of launch, whatever it was, there was this huge, what felt like wave of people at games thanking Top Shot and Dapper for like sending them to games. And that is a reason, like that is something that people are like, oh, that's cool. I didn't realize that like whatever you had to do with Top Shot, you could go to games. And just being able to spread something like, I played SorareNBA,
Right.
and I got whatever it is, this jersey, this hat, this cup, this bumper sticker, like whatever it is, it just allows you to be like, oh, you can like get other stuff with this. And coins do that.
DraftKings has done this a few times too for the Rays and the Magic here locally. And I know my buddy had one in Houston, but they've opened like if it's in your VIP level, you could go do a shoot around, like no players. You could just go on the court, like your kids could go on the court and do a shoot around. Or one for like the Rays I got sent was like you could go to batting practice, but actually be on the field. It was like, I think it was like you had to be in the corner, not meeting anybody, but like, just that access. I mean, that's the stuff that, people take their selfies, tag the app, and then it goes.
I mean, I don't think people can really appreciate I don't want to say the value, but like how cool the experience is of going onto like a professional court or field or any, like not sitting there for the whole, but just walking on the court. I went to the Final Four back in 2016, and it's a long story that I'm not going to get into, but I was like able to get on the court. Like the game was not going on. It was an empty stadium, but I was like on the court, and I'm like, this is awesome. And that seems like something that should be
pretty
available.
Easy.
Yeah.
Probably is.
I don't mean to keep doing this, but I got to go on the field at Progressive Field every day. It never got any less cool.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And
at least you didn't go the other way with that.
Yeah, that's exactly. He's like, I said,
oh,
used to
boring.
Dug out during games, and it sucks.
No,
smells, it's sticky. No. I just never wanted to be there.
No, dude, showing up to sitting in a press box 4 hours before a game in like on a bright summer day with the windows open and there's no one in the stadium. There is not a better office in the world. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, no, I mean, even like I went on it was the old Yankee Stadium. Like I went on like a stadium tour is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get that.
Yep.
That's a great point.
I am going to sneak in here. I absolutely would love a rebound percentage boost with points or assists, and I do think that would be fun. It would be chaos, and it would be unfair, but it would be fun.
At least we know you won't have enough coins for your Dean Wade meetup experience.
Too late, man. I'm just kidding. I never met him.
We're getting close to the end, and I just wanted to point this one thing out because I feel like I was going to change the topic to this 3 times, and now I'm just not even taking a segue. I'm just like taking it right in. But Keith, you've mentioned Paolo Banchero a few times. You've also mentioned Rudy Gobert a few times.
Okay.
These two. So Rudy Gobert was the first unique auctioned this season. And
that makes sense. And that was Blake Griffin, I think, afterwards.
Correct, because they were 2 ambassadors. So the first 10 uniques sold this year were Gobert, Griffin, Aaron Gordon, Obi Toppin, Sadiq Bey, Serge Ibaka, Bol, and Najee Marshall. Is that 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, Kristaps Porzingis and Jonathan Kuminga. Those were the first 10. Gordon Hayward was 11 and DeAndre Jordan was 12.
At least we got the DeAndre Jordan out there.
The last 10 that they did were Steph Curry, Ousmane Dieng, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Paolo Banchero, Karl Anthony Towns, Luka Doncic. Somehow Patrick Beverley got in here. Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, Jamal Murray.
So bad.
Just for next season, just a suggestion, I would just swap those.
Just saying.
That's it.
Just saying.
Keep the order. Just swap them. Anyway.
My God. On that note.
Thank you to everybody for joining us. I think it's still 0-0 for Man City Bayern. I saw somebody commented that Haaland missed a penalty. But thank you to those who decided to skip that game and hang out with us. For those who are catching up, thank you for doing so. If you guys could please hit the like button on the video. And if there's anything also that you'd like us to touch on for future shows, feel free to reach out to me, Andrew, at Andrew M. Laird on Twitter. Probably the easiest way. But yeah, we're going to keep going because the season keeps going. I have no idea what our off-season plans are, so don't really ask me about it. But Alex, Keith, thanks so much. And I'll see you next time. Oh, and good luck with all your training lineups.